Hi, everyone. I'm Dan McDermott. Welcome to Google Plus Week, our look at tech news, which happens Friday nights. Joining me in New York is Alan Furstenberg. Welcome, Alan.
Hey, Dan.
Um, it's Memorial Day weekend, so I just want a quick note. I don't really have a story. Maybe we've talked about this before. Maybe they've just changed the thing. When I started this YouTube live session, I had an option to do 60 frames per second. And I want to say we've talked about that before. So they may have just moved the tick box.
Nope. Brand new feature.
Okay. Is there a story that we have?
No, I forgot
Okay.
to put it in.
Well, I just noticed it tonight. I know this is something that Craig has been griping about for ages. So he's all excited and he's hoping that it is it. Have you heard that it's going to hit Hangouts on air as well? Because
I doubt it, but I wouldn't rule it out. No, it's a YouTube feature now. Wouldn't surprise me if you could do a YouTube live in 60 frames per second using the Hangout on air backend. Um, but I don't have too many more details about it, to be honest.
okay, but the advantage is it's smoother video. It would be if you were doing a Hangout on, like if Audrey, Craig's friend who does hooping, we're doing one and she's doing hula hoop, or if you're doing a baseball game or something, then the frames per second would be really cool. But anyway, so that's neat. And I can't do it because my computer's too ghetto for that. I should get a Chromebox or something.
You should, Dan. I've only been telling you that for, what, 4 years now? 3 years? 3 years.
My mom just got a Chromebook and returned it. It was a nice one too. It was like an all-in-one. It looked like an iMac. I don't know what it was. She got it from Amazon. She returned the whole thing. She said, I don't like the cloud. So she went back and now she can do, Gmail and Chrome on her real PC instead of in the cloud.
Yeah, real useful there.
I love my mom, my 76-year-old awesome mom. All right, so anyway, you got some stuff here, and I got some stuff in our Flipboard magazine, which is just look for Google Plus Week. So I guess you said there's two, or someone said there were two, but I wasn't aware of that. But we've got I don't know how long I got you, and you're all I got, so I'll probably just when you got to leave, we'll shut down. So what? Why don't you talk about what you want to talk about? But first, let me ask you. I guess the I/O is happening before our next show, right?
That's right. I/O starts on Thursday next week.
I've heard all sorts of rumors, and I don't know if I'm not going to go into any of them because we'll find out unless there's some you want to talk about.
Well, I mean, there's obviously, if I had any insider information, which I don't, I couldn't talk about it. But if you want to talk about your favorite rumors, I can tell you why they're full of shit.
The only one I can recall is really a Monday topic, and that's that Android M, they're going to announce it's going to support the Finger ID within apps, which
We
would be
don't know what.
logical since that's very popular on iOS.
It's also very popular on the Samsung where it is. It wouldn't surprise me if we see that. It'll be interesting, though, that if there's an API for it, because that will do something that iOS can't do right now.
And that's allow you to sign in to purchase something or to use that as to know it's you.
Well, it's
For
to have non-Apple apps authenticate using the Touch ID,
like WhatsApp or some sort of
like whatever,
yeah.
like Google Plus, like anything, like YouTube, like Facebook.
Wouldn't it be neat if like Netflix or whatever, since we're using lots of similes like that, if you could, like if your kid were using, if you have a shared iPad or Nexus tablet or what have you, that whoever can get their profile for Netflix or Prime Video so that it doesn't mess up the other person's queue. You know what I mean?
It would be interesting.
All sorts of things like that.
I mean, honestly, I think that's the wrong solution to the problem, but it would be interesting.
Okay. Okay. Way to kill the mood. So
No, what do you
anyway,
want me to say? No,
no,
I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Applications having profiles, especially having profiles for kids, is just dumb as dirt.
well, how would you handle that specific analogy where, like Richard likes Netflix, and he might want to watch it on my big tablet, but I don't want him signing in as me.
No,
And what
he
if we
shouldn't sign
share?
in. He should sign in as him.
So then, if I want to grab it and do something real quick, I've got to actually like log him out and log myself in. I can't just put my
No, you
thumb up and
switch
it
to
knows.
you. You've been able to do that since Jelly Bean.
In other words, shift the whole tablet to me
Yeah.
instead of just on an app basis.
Yes.
Okay.
Or if you need to do it on an app basis, have that baked into the operating system.
And I swear to God, I'm still not. I'm not good on the difference between an account and a user on a tablet.
There isn't much of a difference, except for the fact that a user can have multiple accounts.
And you can sign in and out of Chrome, but still be signed into Google on Chrome. It's a clusterfuck.
Not really.
Okay.
It's a scenario that most people don't ever need to run into. But when they do, it's an incredibly useful feature.
So what else? You've been playing around with collections, and you've got a couple that you're using to for your bucket list for each show. So what kind of stuff did you come up with?
Oh, you actually expect me to look at that list now that I...
Or no, you can look at Flipboard or whatever. Just what do you want to talk about? Or do you want me to just go through here? Because I don't have them necessarily in any order.
You just go through.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to keep talking about I/O...
women will be at I/O in record numbers.
Yes. Last year, we were all cheering when they put up on the screen that 40% of the crowd were women. And this year, they're upping that number even further. And for those of you who have been following this show for, 4 years, you might remember that we had Natalie Villalobos on a couple of times as the Google Plus community manager. Well, she's no longer the community manager. She changed positions at Google quite a few years ago to head some of their women in technology initiatives, and she's been driving many of the changes to get women to come to I/O. And these results aren't just getting women to I/O. It's creating a different atmosphere, and it's creating a better atmosphere at I/O, I think.
And it used to be, didn't it? Everyone could apply, and then they would choose who got to go, and now it's a straight up lottery.
No, it used to be that you had to click quickly, and they got rid of that last year when it was the lottery, when they started the lottery system. But one of the things that a lot of people don't know is that in addition to the lottery, there are a lot of other ways to get tickets. One of the ways, for example, is they've got what they call a Women Tech Makers event. And as part of that event, women are invited to not just to I/O, but to a number of other events surrounding I/O, and to online forums where they network with other women in technology. And one of the things they do is they can buy a ticket to I/O. It's not the only way though. There are also coding contests which will win you tickets to I/O. There are various other ways to participate that get you tickets to I/O.
So when you say they're 23% now, is this a manufactured thing?
No.
Or, in other words, have they chosen to bump that number up artificially, or is that indicative that more women are trying to go to I/O?
Well, what it's indicative of is that women who didn't think they could go to I/O in the past, or had no reason to go to I/O in the past, now are increasingly seeing that there's a reason for them to go.
Okay.
It's not artificially inflated, though. It's not, oh, hey, here's our quota, let's meet a quota. It's making sure that the opportunities are there for people who want to attend, and having those people want to attend.
Yeah, the show Mad Men comes to mind about, some incestuous group of the three I guess you said there are three character types at I/O historically. There's the Asians, the Gerwins, the Yus, or I forget, you went through.
I really hope.
And I remember the funniest thing was when you did the picture of the bathrooms and you showed the line to get into the men's room, was like wrapped around the center, and like you could just get in and out of the ladies' room no problem.
Well, that was a great one. That was the first year I was there in 2012. Ermine posted, I said, one of the things that I did then, and I've done it every year since, and I'll do it again this year, is I asked people, if you've got questions, if you want to know things about what it's like to be at I/O, ask me, because I'm trying to share the experience as best I can. So she asked how many women were there. And actually, I didn't know then. I still don't know. I don't have the numbers for that year. But what I said was that here's an example of what the ratio looks like. And I took a picture of the lines going into the bathroom right after the second day keynote. And there was a long line going into the men's room, which you almost never see anywhere. And there was nobody going into the women's room. And to me, that demonstrated the fact that, just how big the difference was.
Yeah, I think it just makes so much sense because 51% of the population is female. In every country, it's slightly, unless there's like a war going, but it's basically a little over half. And so, if women become as excited about coding, and if women become as accepted in the fraternity, the historic fraternity, and it's moving in that direction on both counts. But once there's parity, we're going to have twice the talent pool that we have from just a Mad Men scenario where it's all men, and different perspectives and different all sorts of things. The work environment changed for the better, I think. I think it would certainly add rather than detract from the Mad Men analogy. Kevin, welcome. How are you? Did you just graduate as well? I know Michael did, or I don't know where you are along.
Yes, I did. I just graduated May 9th. I got my Master of Science in Computer Science.
Did you
so now I am free.
Were you summa cum laude, or Lordy, how come? How'd you do?
I'm just done.
You're done. You're done. That was a Mark Mosley joke. So good for you. Now you got a bachelor's or associates or master's? Like, what'd you say?
It was a master's.
Okay, cool. I think Michael's was a bachelor's, right? He's the other one who showed off his degree this week, I think.
Yeah. He got his bachelor's done.
Do you know him? Because I don't know how far apart you are. I'm not one of those guys who's like, you're both in Georgia, so you must have met, right? It's a big state.
Well, yeah. He's not really near to the Atlanta area, and so no, we haven't met in person. But it would be cool if we could. And now that I'm free,
you're so busy hanging out with Anderson Cooper and Anthony Bourdain that you don't have time for All right. So anyway, all right. So I'm looking at Alan's collection because I don't trust my. I don't think I've accurately flipped some stuff. I got 3 of the flips or something weird. So anyway, okay, so that's cool. It's good to see more diversity at I/O, and I don't care how they achieve it. It's good. And I'll
be honest. I do care how they achieve it. I want people who are honestly and genuinely interested in being there to be there.
Oh yeah, but there's 10 people who are honestly, genuinely want to be there for every seat they have, and that's a wildly inaccurate number, but it's something greater than the number of seats. So if they want to tweak it a little bit, you know what I mean? I don't have a problem with that, as long as you get to go. That's the key. You and Moritz and Gerwin, you guys. Well, I don't know if Moritz can go now. He's a Googler.
Moritz actually will be there this year.
Okay.
That's actually one of the other stories I believe I posted, is that the top contributor program, for the past 2 years now, I believe, has been fielding questions, and for people to, that people want to know about I/O, and they've been dispatching people to answer those questions and research them. In the past, they've been doing it in English only. This year, they're adding German and French to the list of languages that they support questions to be in. And guess who is handling the German questions?
Oh, cool. So he gets to go, and he doesn't have to pay anything to go.
He gets to go, but he gets to work the entire time.
He gets to be paid to go to I/O, whereas you get a goodie bag with the Nexus Q in it and spend $1,000 for the privilege. So it was that. But good for him. How many Googlers are top contributors? That's got to be rare. or is that a good way that they find
Most
Googlers?
Googlers are not top contributors. These are the people who are the community managers and who run the top contributor program.
Okay. All right. So another thing. Apparently, I have a thing here. Getting back to the live thing, just briefly, I can create a highlight, and I don't know why I would do that, but it says you can create highlights while live. Upload highlight clips for your viewers even before your event finishes. Ensure sync to preview is enabled above. Learn more about highlights. I don't know what the hell that is, but that sounds like a pain in the ass. But it's an exciting new feature.
But it's the sort of thing that if you've got a producer running it, that's a great feature to have.
I could see that. Yeah, if you're doing the Taylor Swift Hangout on Air and she's answering fan questions and there was some really funny moment and they wanted to talk about it at the end, like I can't believe when they threw water on me and they want to show that highlight or the whatever clip.
Just to put a clip out and then to post it on, something like Twitter and say, hey, this event is going on now. Here's what you already missed. That's a great way to get people into a live event, is to show them what they just missed.
I just wish we could do media in a Hangout on Air. That's one of the reasons I do YouTube Live. I do it because I can do an intro,
When was the last time we did an intro again?
Right now I'm doing it. And I can't do that in a Hangout on Air. Or if I do, I can share a screen and it sucks. But with YouTube Live, and this is only 720p. So here's the Android opening. This is our Android Week. Not really. So I can do that, and I can play media in the middle. Like one time I pre-recorded some segments with you. I forget where you were going. I don't know if it was...
I was unavailable that weekend, but you then proceeded to air them incorrectly.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you guys left yourself on live for about 15 minutes, and then suddenly one of you said, oh, shit, I forgot to click on Alan's video.
That would have been me. Alan,
I know
here's
one of your favorite topics is
so I'm showing them one.
your incessant adoration.
Yeah. So I still got them staved here. But anyway, so that's... I wish Hangouts on Air had the ability to play an intro, play an outro if you wanted, to play media in the middle, whatever you wanted. And the rights issues, if you simply could play stuff from your YouTube channel, so it's already gone through the filtration process, it's not illegal, or copyright strikes. Okay, so the next thing here, Google Compute Price Engine reductions.
Yeah, this isn't a big deal, but one of the neat things is that Google has been, as Compute Engine has been getting more and more mature, and as the cost to operate these machines has been dropping, they've been passing the cost on to consumers. So for some machines, there's like a 35% price reduction.
For the layman watching, also known as me,
what's a compute engine?
What's a compute engine? How does this compare with Amazon Web Services or Google Drive? Or, there's multiple things.
Sure. So this is mostly in the actual running part of the computer itself. It's not it's not what they charge for disk storage or for some other functions. What compute engine is it's basically a way that you can spin up 1 or 2 or 1,000 machines when you need them, and manage them and shut them down when you don't need them anymore. This is the sort of thing that Google uses to handle all of their processing, their robots, their web servers. Just about everything that Google does is handled with these kinds of machines.
Let's say that you could use this for an Android app.
Yes. And in fact, one of the subjects at I/O this year is going to be how you handle this for an Android app. So if your Android app, for example, if you're building the latest and greatest chat application, as you get more and more clients that are connecting to your servers, you need to spin up more servers. And this gives you a way to do so automatically. So that as you see the load is increasing, you add more servers to the mix.
Is it automatic?
Well, you need under some configurations it can be, but in general you're writing the application to know when you need to scale things up.
So like if suddenly 60 Minutes mentioned your app and thousands of people suddenly, without your knowledge ahead of time, would it take care of it, or you'd have to like jump on somewhere and, oh my God, fix?
Well, here's the thing. If you've written your app correctly, then it will automatically scale up for you.
Okay.
If you have not written your app correctly, then you're going to have, some agita.
Let's say I had a Sudoku game and it would randomly create a new puzzle when you wanted one. Is that creation crunching, would that happen on my phone, or would that happen in something like this? I'm trying to figure out where this would be
It
used.
depends. Probably that sort of thing I do on the phone, though.
Okay.
But one example that they give is a way to have a scalable Sudoku solver.
That's a lot of crunching. I tried to
Yep.
create one. That's a lot of crunching.
You mean you didn't create one?
I forget why. I got bored, I think. Or maybe I did finish. I can't remember. I've done
Was it the president? Which president made their Sudoku solver and released it as open source?
I don't know the answer to that
That was
question.
in like the past couple of weeks.
I don't know if it was a solver or if it was creating the puzzle, which I found to be more difficult than solving it.
Singapore's prime minister wrote a Sudoku solver in C++.
Well, I knew it was one of the Asian ones. Had
Do
to
you
happen.
have much, Dan?
Huh?
Nothing.
I don't see Bill Clinton up there with his app development kit. The Clinton SDK. Any thoughts on the Google Compute Engine price reduction, Kevin?
It sounds great.
Are you already drunk
No,
for Memorial Day?
I'm actually trying to deal with a side problem. I'm trying
Okay.
to follow all the topics on Flipboard, but for some reason, some of the posts just show up as Google Plus, like accounts.google.com.
That I
And then
don't
when
know
I
what
try
that
to log in, it
is.
says the post is not found.
I think for whatever reason I was trying to flip some stuff from Alan's private collection, which he has forced on me in retaliation for my forcing Flipboard on him. So we're punishing each other, and so I'm actually looking at his thing. I guess Alan, maybe, I don't know. Can you grant Kevin access
Oh, grant Kevin access. Yeah.
to the collection, or you'd have to do it on a post basis?
No, I can grant him access to the collection.
But if the posts were shared privately to the is it on a
Oh,
per
sure.
post basis?
I've shared it to a circle, and I can add Kevin to the circle.
Okay.
The collection
Okay.
is permitted to a circle.
Okay,
Okay.
got it. Okay.
All right. So another Google Plus success story. So I see here another part of the is, or did you already say this? Preemptible. Jesus,
No,
I don't
this
even
is
know if I
slightly
can
different.
say it. Preemptible virtual machines, aka VMs. We like our acronyms here at Google Plus Week. You can save even more in your cloud infrastructure. And there's a little slideshow there, it looks like.
Sure. So what this is about is one of the things that you could, as I mentioned, one of the things you do with these VMs is you spin up new ones when you need them and shut them down when you don't. One of the things that Google has to do because of this is it means that they need to keep around lots and lots of extra machines just in case you suddenly decide to spin up 1,000 machines. Or in case they need to spin up 1,000 machines.
Out of
So they don't-
curiosity, what kind of cost are we talking? Let's say, to use my example, 60 Minutes or some big show, the BBC mentions my app, or my app appears on a hit TV show, and I'm like, oh my God. And then everyone's like looking up the app, and all of a sudden 30,000 people, maybe 100,000, I don't know what the numbers are. It could be 1 million because there's billions of users. What would and this happened like for a day or so. Would that be like 50 cents to me, or like, oh my God, I got to get a mortgage out? I don't understand And of
Well,
course, it
I
would
mean,
depend on the app and what it was doing. But what's
it depends on the app. It depends on what you're doing. It depends on what you're trying to do. It really depends on a lot of things. So it's tough for me to actually answer that. But to give you an example, if which I'm now quickly trying to bring up. So to give you an example, their basic machine, just a basic run-of-the-mill machine, costs full price. It costs about 5 cents an hour. I'm sorry. Depending on how much you use it, say it costs about 3 cents an hour, 3 or 4 cents an hour. If you had it, and that's for a basic machine that I'm not sure I'd trust it to do all that much. For their top end, I'm trying to find their most expensive machine here. A high memory 32 core machine. Yeah, high memory 32 core machine runs you about $1.50 an hour. So, if you're trying to do things like sequence the human genome, you might spin up a few of those.
But it could probably handle my Sudoku generator.
Yeah.
So can you make? Let's say I wrote a Sudoku game or whatever game, chess, some sort of puzzle where it's just you playing yourself, simple game, tic-tac-toe, playing against the computer, and I use.
What you would do is you would buy a machine, and in a data center somewhere,
Okay.
or you'd rent a machine, really, in a data or rent a VM in a data center somewhere, and that would be great. But if you were anticipating the load to increase, well, that means you would have to rent another machine, or you'd have to rent a higher end machine. With what the cloud services offer, and this is really what distinguishes a cloud from just having a server. It's a silly distinction, to be honest, but this is kind of what it is that you buy, to start out, you buy the machine, the lowest possible machine that you think you need on a regular basis. And then, as you realize either in general your workload is increasing or you're spiking, you set up your system to add more machines when they're necessary and pay for them only when they're necessary.
Can this be used for websites, or is this only used for mobile apps?
You can use it for websites, sure.
Let me give you an example, a real live example. They just did this big recall. They announced that the biggest recall ever for cars because of the airbags. And they said you could go to safercar.gov. And so I attempted to, and of course the site had crashed. So if that website were functioning, it's a government website, so I'm sure it's on some sort of secure server maintained by the government or rented. But if that had been on like Amazon Web Services or something, using something like this as the thing, because you had to put your VIN number, your vehicle identification number in, and it would tell you if there's a recall for your car in advance. This is not just a lower price on something, but this is something that folks.
These are cloud services. This is what Amazon Web Services does. This is what Google Compute Engine has done for a number of years. This is what Google App Engine has done for a number of years. That's the reason for them existing.
Let's say I come up with I come up with a game, or I obtained from the government a list of all the VINs affected, and I created my own app that would tell you. And then I tried to monetize my game or that app or whatever app it is. And we're talking an Android app. And I guess the way that most of them monetize it, if they don't charge for the app, is they just have they use AdSense in their, or whatever the version is for mobile. And then they generate some sort of revenue if someone clicks on the ad. But there's a cost associated with running the app. So isn't there a risk that the cost will exceed the potential revenue from that ad, and that I could end up bankrupt? Or in general, does that not happen?
You can manage that as well. So you can, well, here's where it's a trade-off. You know exactly what it's going to cost each machine per hour. You know what your maximum cost is going to be. And so you can now scale your systems appropriately and set your prices appropriately. And if you fail to do so, then you lose money. It's kind of what it boils down to.
So let's look at Flappy Bird as an example.
A
I think
lousy example, but sure, we can do that.
it was a free app. Or it is a free app, and there was an ad in it. I think. I don't think there was but one ad when you first started it, and then I'm guessing there was very little interaction with his game and a server. Right? It was just probably your score at the end and serving the ad. I mean, it wasn't like constantly doing things.
Right. It really doesn't need a server.
So in that case, it's pure money, almost. Definitely, your revenue from the ads would outpace any cost to say store your high score and your username at the end of the game or something to compare with others, or some minor interaction compared to running a game on an external thing. I'm just wondering if I guess my experience is you make so little money from ads. I've stopped doing them. But I guess if you have a good game on an Android or an iOS, that there's just so many users that you can, they're actually making money. Because I think they said Flappy Bird was making like tens of thousands of dollars a day or something crazy. Do you run the risk that your cost that you're going to go bankrupt? Your typical young developer who's trying something out and gets a hit game overnight and wasn't ready for it.
Well, your typical young developer has no idea about, how to actually make money. So yes, you run the risk of going bankrupt. But, so does the guy who opens the corner store. If you don't manage what you're doing well, then yes. On the other hand, you've got that shows you your daily billing. You can make easy estimates for what each machine is going to cost. Hopefully you can make good estimates for how much load each machine can take. Yes, there are considerations, but somebody who's actually thinking through these things should be able to think through these things.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What this preemptive option is since Google needs to keep lots of spare capacity around, on occasion, they'd rather make a little bit of money from it than make no money from it. So what they'll do is, if you've got jobs that require, that you can interrupt, that can be interrupted, you can run it on a preemptible machine, and if they need your machine, they'll kill you. And in return for that, instead of paying 3 or 4 cents, you're paying like a penny and a half an hour.
Okay, so Michael Sai says, Google Plus Week TV show Collective, you will be assimilated. I love Sai. Okay, Michael Thomas, can or are they going to address the new Canva format?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Nor do I. That's what I was hoping. When you say the Canva format, the only Canva I know is an app to produce graphics, which didn't support CMYK, so I stopped playing with it. I was testing it, but I'm not sure what you mean. But while he's figuring that out, some other comments. Michael Thomas just shared our presentation. Thank you, sir. George Cozy wants to know, do we really need yet another photo sharing thing? And Jeff Stoner.
Well, hang on. Let's. I'm trying to figure out if George is picking fun at the cloud example that I just gave, or if he's openly opining that about the future fate of Google Photos.
Perhaps both. Jeff Stoner, Dan, if you want a rundown on cloud technologies, Amazon, Google App Engine, my company's cloud, etc., over lunch, let me know. I don't know if I would understand, Jeff, but I'll keep it in mind. Jeff's a local guy. He's like the only other person in the county who still uses Google+. And he may be in the next county. How many people in Atlanta are active users, Kevin?
I'm always searching for someone.
Other than realtors listing homes.
Yeah.
If you go to locals, they're like maybe 3 weeks ago or something.
Nothing.
I'm checking in at Gold's Gym kind of thing.
Yeah, it feels kind of like that. I have to look farther. It's-
One day we're
I
just
would,
gonna like wake up and it's gonna be like Orcut, and we're all gonna be really pissed. I'm gonna be like, I've wasted 5 years of my life. I can't have back. Um,
well,
so
I know what a lot of my experience with that is that a lot of people that I know are not on Google Plus, except everybody's on Google Plus. Like, here's an interesting thing I found out. I was making a trip, and so I was starting to. I was just updating my Google Plus account by just posting photos and saying, you know, this is where I am, this is where I am, and just geotagging it. And I started getting responses from some family members that I didn't realize were on Google Plus at all. And I realized it was because they had Android devices and they were getting updates from me, but they weren't doing anything. But because I started sharing stuff that they were interested in, they were all getting notifications and they actually started responding. So it turned out that basically my entire family was on Google Plus. It's just that you don't see it on the surface because I was sharing it privately. So, and I think that's the experience.
That's kind of the point about Google Plus that we've been making for years now, is that, you know, it's just there. It's not meant to be this destination like Facebook is. It's just there, and it becomes part of what you do.
Oh yeah, and it's weaved into my family's life so that now they actually see some of the stuff that I post, and they're a little bit more active, but privately again, because you know there's maybe I post a photo and they're like, yeah, that looks really nice, you know.
Right. This is why Dan's comment about how, you know, Google Plus is where you go to find your hobbies and such, and Facebook is where you go to find out what time Thanksgiving dinner is. That's why that's hogwash.
Well, I wouldn't completely say it's hogwash. I mean,
I would.
there are a lot of
go
people
ahead,
that
Kevin.
I know on Facebook that I can't contact any other way. But I know for a lot of my family, like the longer Google Plus goes on, the more they see my stuff, and the more they respond, and the more they interact with that kind of stuff. So I think as long as Google doesn't lose faith in itself and just drop Google Plus itself and become its own worst enemy, then it is just going to be like an insidious thing that just moves into people's lives, and they'll realize that it's so useful that they don't know what they did without it eventually.
That's gonna happen. I can feel
I
it.
think it will. I honestly think it will. There's so many other services that Google has that people just end up using those services, and then they have that social aspect around all those services, and it really does start weaving its way into people's lives.
Right. If it wasn't for the fact that Google fucked it up in multiple ways, it would be a lot better integrated right now.
The YouTube integration went well, was well received.
Well, it wasn't well received initially, but it is now. And
Didn't
it
they
did
roll
go
some of
fairly
that back though?
well. What?
Didn't they roll some of that back? I can't remember.
No.
The comments are
liking
still
the-
a cesspool on YouTube.
I don't want to completely rehash old stuff, but I do like the collection stuff, and I am using it, and I'm finding it really useful.
I'm definitely gonna this weekend. I'm gonna go through my 12,000 Google Plus posts and put them all in collections, so that no one.
That-
Just don't bother, Dan. Just set up some new collections and learn how to use the thing.
I'm being forced to. Yeah, that's the only way I can get your topics. So I'm looking here. Oh, I just am I allowed to screen share your secret collection? Why is it secret?
Because I want to be able to share potential stories with you guys and freely discuss them before we air them. I mean, it's not I'm not saying here's what has to be on the show or I'm going to, hunt you down. But I'm saying here's what I think would be good for Friday.
And also sometimes we're like, do we really want to lend any credibility to this a-hole
Right.
and talk about it, or no, let's
Right.
not. Okay.
This is so that the producers of the show can have free and frank conversations about possible topics.
We could use our private email server. I swear to God. The only thing I want to say, because that is actually a text story, is I have seen every possible conspiracy theory trumped up about the Clintons. From they murdered a guy to, everything, right? And the voters just do not give a shit. They do not care, right? And it turns out that, it was wrong, right? And I just see this stuff, and they all get excited, all excited again, like, oh, we got her this time. And then it turns out that it was BS, and the voters don't care. Nobody cares about Hillary's emails outside of the Beltway in D.C. You know what I mean? And everyone has private emails. And no, I'm not giving up my private emails if I run for office. Why should you have to do that? Jeb Bush did the same thing. He printed out all the emails that he thought were public, because back then they didn't have like the government email, right? They used their Yahoo email or Hotmail or whatever it was. And then probably during his term, they got a Gov address or whatever. And he printed out his stuff and he turned it in and said, okay, here's the archive, you know. And the stuff, you know, yelling at my wife, I'm not including. I just think it's funny that it's just they get all excited.
Yeah, I was surprised how many people actually had their private email servers once people started investigating the story. Because when I first heard the story, I thought it was being made a big deal of because it was so unusual, and it turns out it's actually not that unusual.
It's not.
So
there's dispute over whether it was illegal or not.
yeah,
Apparently it wasn't
plus
illegal.
People don't care.
But, you know, there's no one on the fence. Like, you know, I'm trying to decide, do I want to vote for Rick Santorum or Hillary Clinton? And this email shit's really crawling under my skin. You know what I mean? No one is there. That person does not exist. I don't think anybody cares. But I guess it's, you know, it's May and they got to talk about something. And like I said before about Fox News, it applies to MSNBC. These channels, you know, so they're like professional wrestling. They look a lot like news. You know, they're wearing suits and the graphics, but it's not news. It's bullshit. Anyway, and both parties are equal offenders here. So all that happened. Okay, so I think you've already hit the top contributors. Did you want to go into that at all, or do you want to hit the Ripples thing next, Alan? You already mentioned that more.
Next will be Ripples.
All right, so Ripples was this neat thing where you could, if you had a hot post, you could see who shared it. Like if Vic and Dotra shared your post. This happened to me once. I mean, I've had a few, but not frequent. You know, every 6 months or so, I'd have one that would blow up. But one, it was about Tesla, when he announced the special charging stations, the network of charging stations to allow you to have a greater mileage for your car. So I posted that, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I did a really good write-up on it. I spent some time. Vic shared it, and it exploded. It got like 1,500 shares or something, or likes, whatever, or plus ones. Anyway, so I was able to go and see where they generated from, and it was a very beautiful interface. It would show you circles. I'm sure there's screen if you do an image search. If you're not aware of this, but do we know why it was taken down, Alan? Because I thought it was a little used but neat thing. It would show only public shares.
The official announcement kind of didn't really say why. It said, you know, we're looking forward to continuing to give you a clean user interface on Google+.
That's bullshit because nobody saw the feature. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, it could hint at the fact that, you know, they needed to get that they felt that menu was way too crowded, which it probably was. I think the bigger reason has to do with the fact that it didn't work with collections.
Oh, so they're all in on collections now.
Well, they were all in on collections the moment they launched it. But I think there was a bug in it that it wasn't working correctly with collections. And the person who wrote it left. So they couldn't figure out how to fix it.
Are you
And
just
they
speculating,
you know
or you're saying like Bez or whoever?
what?
The person who wrote Ripples left?
That's my guess.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this at the time we thought it was, you know, some Googler's 20% project or an intern project for the summer. You know, it clearly wasn't meant to be a main feature of Google+. But it was a nice feature.
It was pretty. I guess the kid's mom called and he had to go home, and nobody else wanted to take it up.
Well, that's, you know, I really think what it was is that it didn't work correctly with collections. It shared something to a collection, it just disappeared out of the ripple completely. It just wasn't there. And they just couldn't figure out how to fix it. And rather than try, it was easier to get rid of the feature, especially because nobody used it.
Yeah, I think too it was a victim of just there's too many things in this menu, and let's just get rid of a couple of things. and they just looked at how many people use it relative to everything else, and they just said, okay, not everyone's going to cry about this one, so let's just remove this one. Move on.
And I'll be honest, I'm sad to see it go, but I'm not. I'm more annoyed that it left rather than pissed off that it left. And then the biggest thing that I find annoying is that we went to actually look at implementing it using the Google Plus API, and there's a bug with the API that's preventing us from creating our own. So there are a couple of services that are sort of trying to do the same sort of thing, but they're not doing it nearly as efficiently.
Okay.
Okay, so Bon Voyage ripples. All right, next is Google is a step closer to developing machines with human common sense. I swear to God, I don't even think I read that. I thought it was just something. They're talking about artificial intelligence.
You just like the headline.
Are you scared? I mean, everyone is getting headlines saying they're scared. And some folks who are smart, like Elon Musk and, oh God, the guy in the chair, A Brief History of Time.
Stephen Hawking.
Yeah, he said, like, that's what's going to get us in the end. And the guy relies on machines. So he's certainly, literally biting the hand that feeds him. But what do you think? I mean, should we be afraid of a scenario like the Terminator movie? As I saw one story that said that they're doing these DNA. Well, this isn't a machine, but it kind of is. DNA, genetically modified things that are programmed to die if they get out of control. I'm like, oh my God, Jurassic genomes. What could possibly go wrong? I don't know. Is science going to get, I mean, all of a sudden are we going to like, oops, maybe that wasn't such a good call. And like, there's no corn anymore. Or, you know what I mean? Like the chestnut tree was wiped out nationwide, but that wasn't by humans. It was, because of some invasive species or whatever the hell it was.
I keep hearing about people saying they're going to worry about it, and honestly, I'm not that worried simply because we control the plugs. If a computer really gets out of control.
Well, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. What makes you think we control the plugs, Kevin?
Yeah, we controlled we grew the chestnut tree, and it was a major industry, the Great American Chestnut, and it wiped out. I mean, one day I worry that we're going to be like, damn, remember when we had wheat? You know what I mean? Like soy. Those are the good old days. Until they did that thing.
Go out there. No, seriously, Kevin, what makes you think we'll control the power plug?
Well, I mean, we physically can move over to power plugs, right? But are you saying it would go off the grid, or are you saying that it would lock us out, or are you saying...
I'm saying the artificial intelligence would run the grid too.
Oh, well, okay, it can run the grid, but I mean, we're physically here. I mean...
Well, but if you've got a sufficiently automated system, you're not physically there.
Right, because you would just be operating it remotely.
Well, you're not even operating remotely. You're not there. Let's take a hypothetical here. And it may be a little bit of a stretch, but it's only a little bit of a stretch. Okay? Humans have been shown to be incredibly fallible when it comes to running nuclear power plants, right?
Okay.
So let's put the AI in charge of running the plant. And since humans are also kind of, not the best sort of people you want actually near the live reactor, you've already got the machines there, so they're now directly controlling those machines. So essentially, you can eliminate humans from the grounds of a nuclear power plant.
Right, because you can have either drones or actual robots walking around handling the radioactive stuff, and then you have the artificial intelligence handling all the power, because if humans make those kinds of decisions, they might
Right. And
mess
you don't
up.
even you're talking about robots like you mean human robots. But the truth is, right now, we've got the robot, we've got mechanical systems that are manipulating the core of nuclear power plants. You don't have people going into the core.
Right. Okay. Right.
So you've already got the machines doing that. Just right now, those machines are controlled by humans. What if you make the machines advanced enough to be controlled by
Other machines.
other machines?
Right.
And it's not even really other machines, because it's all one big machine.
So yeah. So how long before those machines that control machines gain some kind of sentience and realize what kind of a virus on the human planet that we are?
I'm not even going to that point. I'm not even going to that. I'm not. That's taking it, really into science fiction. What I'm saying is, at some level, we need to engineer that nuclear power plant so that it cannot be sabotaged.
I don't understand. I mean, like the Fukushima thing, they literally sent 2 guys in there to die because don't we have a robot who can? I don't know. I don't remember the details.
No, the robot got stuck.
I mean, this was something from the West Wing 10 years earlier. There was a similar situation that played out. I think when they build these things, or as part of the recertification process, they should have some sort of way to like fix them without sending 2 guys in there to melt. What the hell? It's 2015. We could put a guy on the moon. We can't get a robot into a nuclear thing.
Man, we can't put a person on the moon.
Oh God. Hollywood did.
No. I mean, back in 1969, we could put a person on the moon. We can't do that today.
Isn't Elon going to put people on Mars?
He's years away from that. He can't even get a person in orbit yet.
He can't land the thing yet.
No. He can. Well, I mean, he's had Dragon modules successfully land.
Like from 200 feet up, not like.
That's just the booster, so he can recover the booster.
Yeah, he'll get there.
It's amazing the cost savings.
But here's the thing: we haven't had a person land on the moon in 40 years. We can't do that today.
We could if we made it a priority, but there's no need. We've done it. We did it. That's the
It'll
rocks.
take us at least 10 years to do it again. That's how long it took us the first time.
Yeah, that's the point, though. There's no need to spend all that money to do. We got rocks and it's cold, okay, and we're there. There's a flag there now, and.
But Dan, no, my point is we don't have the technology to do it today. We physically don't. We destroyed the blueprints.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
They destroyed the blueprints for how to build a Saturn V rocket.
Why didn't
And
they didn't
destroyed
keep a
the
secret one
engineering
somewhere?
What was that?
They didn't keep a secret copy somewhere they didn't tell us about?
No.
They're not stupid. Maybe they are stupid.
They're rocket scientists. Man.
You're treading on dangerous territory there, Dan.
They put the damn thing through with like duct tape on the side at the end, a couple times. So I think couldn't they wing it,
You're
Elon
about
Musk-
2 minutes away from pulling apart the curtain and finding the Wizard of Oz.
Elon's
There's
using.
no way they could be doing that.
Well, I mean,
Dan, do you know why
SpaceX
they
is using
stopped the
Soviet era rockets, right? Because we don't even have. We're not. Nobody's building the engines.
Dan, do you know why they stopped the Apollo project?
Because they
Because
did
they were
it.
worried about a death. The probability of the next Apollo mission being a catastrophic failure was too high.
Weren't
Yes. Speaking of that, part of the decline of watching those moon ascents happened to me literally because I was watching a shuttle launch live in class. They had a launch that was going to happen, and so they wanted to show it live so that people would be interested in the space program. and be interested in more STEM stuff. And so we were the whole class was watching it live in class, and this rocket went up, and it was really amazing. You saw the big explosions as the rocket started to take off in the air, and it was going up and up and up, and we were following it as it was going up in the air, and all of a sudden there was some big boom, and then it started going sideways and then going down and down and down, and then the teacher turned off the TV, and it was Challenger. I watched Challenger live in class.
Oh, wow.
And all of a sudden, they weren't watching any more live rocket launches in class anymore because they don't want to show that and have to explain that later.
Wasn't Big Bird supposed to be on it or something like that?
Something. I didn't catch the end because they turned off the TV.
Did they like bring?
That was a story that went out recently. That Carol Spinnett was supposed to be on that mission.
He's an awesome guy.
He really was?
I think, I'm not kidding. I think he as Big Bird was supposed to be. Can you imagine if they killed Big Bird? Oh my God. They could never bring the character back. You know
It
what
would
I mean?
be Mr. Hooper all over again.
The kids would know it's not Big Bird. He blew up.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know that.
Okay, yeah. This story is coming up now. It's being slow at the moment.
Oh no.
And that means Oscar the Grouch would have been killed.
He does the voice for that too?
Yeah.
Oh.
Harold Spinney narrowly avoided dying in 1986 Challenger shuttle disaster because his Big Bird suit wouldn't fit inside the spacecraft, the documentary reveals.
Thank God.
This came out only within the past couple of weeks.
I totally did not hear about. Wow, okay.
I really am a human Wikipedia. I'm as wrong as
Really did
Wikipedia
just
as
read
well.
this in the news like 2 weeks ago, Dan.
Yeah, I was on a Big Bird kick. It's weird hearing him talk. It's just he's a wonderful guy. It's just but there's some neat behind the scenes videos if you look for him on YouTube. There's one that's a two-part behind the scenes at Sesame Street, and it tells all the stories and you meet all the guys. They've been doing it a long time. I think Big Bird is the sole remaining puppeteer from the original lineup. And they talk about Jim Henson and everything, and they said the first show sucked. They did testing. They test every show with an audience of little kids, and they said that the little kids panned the show. They said it was boring, except they liked the part with Bert and Ernie.
Dan, we're getting extra audio from you somewhere.
Check 1 2.
Nope, it was me. Sorry.
So, yeah, you had something going on. But anyway, so yeah, it was interesting. But then they went back to Henson. They said, "Okay, we need you to poop out a bunch of puppets real quick," and they redid it. And then it exploded when they did the public premiere. They said it was an overnight sensation, and they got calls from every toy manufacturer in the world. They wanted to buy Sesame Street, for dolls and stuff. And it's neat. But Big Bird is a 6-year-old and a little bit slow. So Big Bird represents the kid watching, and he makes all the mistakes and learns. And it's such an important character. And I'm so happy that Big Bird did not explode in space. So anyway, next is, I swear to God, did you read the Google Fiber pushes automatic piracy fines to subscribers trolling story?
Yeah, no.
And then there's some dispute about this. It says Torrent Freak reported the rollout. According to the publication, piracy notices are being automatically forwarded to users of Google Fiber, and not only including regular cease and desist warnings, but controversial demands from companies such as Rights Corp and CEG Tech. Rights Corp, for example, recently filed a lawsuit against 2 Comcast customers who both ignored multiple notices, 11 and 288 demands respectively, from which may result in damage settlements and attorney fees if the firm can prove its case. Demands for payment, often settled online, can range from $20 to several hundred. The practice requires scrutiny. These notices do not simply alert the user that the connection is being used to download pirated material, that their connection is being instead the regular DMCA takedown process is used and a demand for money issued without proof of identity of the infringer. However, an IP address is not legally linked to an individual, and those targeted by these notices may not be the ones downloading. Family, friends, or even an insecure Wi-Fi network can all be at fault. This is a long-standing issue. I think the one lady's kid was downloading songs. Remember, she was a holdout and like said, "Screw you," and I'm not going to settle, and ended up getting fined like millions and millions of dollars. I thought they went after the people who provide stuff more than the downloaders. But these companies, they're going to, if they can make a buck.
Yeah, in general, they do go after the people who are providing it more than anyone else. But, sometimes you can get caught in their troll net sometimes. So, know your rights, but also know that if you try and fight it too hard, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. All of us have produced intellectual property. Alan has his book. I wrote a game. We do this show. And, I see both sides. But I don't know. I mean, stuff is so cheap. I don't know who the hell's downloading stuff now. Can't you just wait for Netflix to get it? Or Prime? Someone's going to get it. HBO Now, all this stuff's so cheap. Who's like ripping DVDs now?
Well,
you can rent the movie for $1 or $1.50.
A lot of what's going on now is country restrictions. Sometimes I know the big thing is Game of Thrones right now, that a lot of people in different countries can't see it at the same time that it's being aired in other places, and so they'll get it because of that, or it might be because there's some time window on a movie, and so they want to see it earlier.
I know, what's the big PBS thing? Downton Abbey, I think. Doesn't the entire season air in the UK before it airs here? And so we're all speculating about the grand finale or the premiere, and it's like a year old or whatever.
Yeah, they hold back on that one a bit. So
music's like that. I remember I used to live in London and in Virginia, and so I went through the Bruce Springsteen thing back in the 80s, because he, the whole Born in the USA thing here. And the whole thing for like 6 months from start to finish, the different songs from the album, hits, TV, big shindig. Then I went to London, and it was just starting. They were just about to discover the boss. And so I sat through the whole thing again, all the same songs in the same order, a month apart, whatever. And then while that was going on, Frankie Goes to Hollywood was starting, with Relax and Two Tribes and all these great songs. And they did that. And then that kind of petered out. And then I went back after the summer break to the U.S. And Frankie Goes to Hollywood was just starting. So it was weird. I guess it's logistics because they tour the country. And so they release the things in that country to coincide. The tour supports the sales and blah, blah, blah. Back in the old days, right? We're talking like LP records, then cassettes. But it's interesting how this stuff. And a lot of times you talk about Netflix original, like CNN, Anthony Bourdain, or when his previous show Travel Channel, or Netflix and House of Cards, or Orange is the New Black, and HBO with Game of Thrones, PBS with Downton Abbey. Often these are not things that they own. They are one, like House of Cards. Netflix is one of 2 or more different people who are paying for the production. And they have exclusive rights in whatever, in the U.S. and perhaps other markets for some period of time. And then they can sell them again to the BBC or PBS or the Australian, the ABC, whatever, and make more money. But then they're using VPNs to bypass that. At least all the cool kids. All the Google Plus users know how to do that. So anyway, okay, so next is Windows 10 upgrades. And we got about 15 more minutes of Alan. And then Kevin and I are going to talk about politics and religion and controversial stuff.
We'll solve all the world's
If that
problems.
doesn't scare our users, I don't know what will.
We're going to talk about all the shit Alan doesn't let me talk about. Windows 10
I like
upgrades.
to talk about it, I just don't answer.
So Windows 7 and up, you'll get a free Windows 10 upgrade. Windows XP you won't, but your computer probably couldn't support it anyway. Windows RT will not get a Windows 10 upgrade, but some of the Windows 10 features will be incorporated into a future version of RT, which is the thing that runs on their lower end Surface that was a disaster.
The most hilarious part of this story is the part where you say future version of RT. That's hilarious.
The Nexus Q 2.0 will be duking it out on the shelves of Radio Shack for the best. Oh, when did he say that? Did he just leave? Oh, okay. He's popped out briefly.
No.
He'll come back. Okay, so I don't know. Is Windows 10? The 8 sucked so bad that they skipped the next number and said they're gonna call it 10. It is like Star Wars movies. Like every other one's good.
Well, Star Trek movies.
Star Trek.
Trek.
Sorry.
Yeah. 2, 4, 6 are good. 1, 3, 5 are mediocre.
Unless you're a true fan, then you like all of them, like me. But yeah, so is 10 going to be good, or have you played with it? I don't know.
Honestly, I mean, people love to make fun of Windows and say how bad Windows 8 is, how bad Windows 10 is going to be. Honestly, in my opinion, I've liked pretty much all the versions, even Vista a little bit, even though I know they have issues, simply because every iteration that I've seen come along, I've seen the blue screen of death less and less. In 8, I've barely seen anything crash because of the operating system itself. I've seen instances where applications have locked up the machine, so I can't respond or do anything. But
that's bad.
Well, but it's not being caused by the operating system itself. That's
even worse, is that the operating system is letting an application run away with it.
But I've also seen
that. You just got your master's in CS. You should know why that's a bad thing.
I know it's bad. I know that's bad. I know that. I'm saying those instances have been going down over time. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's good to have an application lock up the lower levels. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that over time, those instances that I've seen have been going down over time. I'm not trying to say that it's the best thing ever, but I am saying that it does run a lot of stuff that Macs won't. I mean, I know I have a lot of software right now that will never be ported over to Mac that I use on a daily basis.
My game.
So I'm never going to leave Microsoft.
My 1993 game will never be ported over to Mac.
Well, I have some like music tagging software, and I know it's never going to get. I use a program called MP3 Tag, and I know it's only going to be developed on on Windows machines, and I use it all the time.
For what? What do you do? Why do you tag your MP3s?
Yeah, I like to play around with tagging and
MP3 Tag for Mac OS X version 2.70.
MP3 Tag.
Oh my God! You just changed Kevin's life.
Really? I mean, it took me like 15 seconds to do that search.
Hold on, wait a minute. Are we talking about...
MP3 Tag was designed to be an application to run under Windows. Some people also want to use it under OS X. The good news is it's possible.
But I can't use it on my Windows phone. What the hell? Why would you go tagging? I mean, how much free time do you have? What purpose is that?
Oh no, I like to play around with it. I mean,
what do you when you say tag it? What do you mean? Like I like this song or 3 stars? Or
No. I mean, I like to change the way that the actual music looks when on the actual file itself. Like if you play it in a music player, I like to add additional images to it. I like to add additional.
These are ID3 tags?
What?
These are just ID3 tags.
Right. Yeah. I like to play around with that.
Kevin, you are weird.
Like a dozen of them for my Mac.
No, you can tag music on a Mac. That's not what I'm saying.
Is this like if you're doing a big house party with the sisters are coming over?
No, Dan, this is adapting the metadata for a file.
Right.
This is okay.
I'm not saying it's a big project. I'm just saying I like to do it.
And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing.
Okay,
anyway.
So I learned something today.
Software, like here's another Fubar 2000. I like to play music with using that, and that really is on Windows only. Although you can run some kind of adaptation for Macs, but it's not really being developed for Macs.
Fubar for Mac.
Oh
my God. Let's list all the DOS applications, and Alan, with his super fast keyboard skills. All right, so we got a couple comments here. Dustin B. Harry.
Okay,
His
no. To
comment
be
is,
honest, it says there's no foobar for Mac. It's giving a list of alternatives.
Yeah.
George Cozy says the thing that drives evolution is the capacity to adapt to adverse conditions. Technology mellows adversity, so does technology limiting. Is technology limiting our capacity to adapt? When the machines take over, that won't be an issue.
I'm sorry, George. That's like exactly backwards of evolution.
George notes to Dan, electronics and robots don't do that well in radiation. Apparently, power plants don't do well in radiation. We still don't know what's crawling on the ocean bottom either. Dan McDermott, LOL. And then let me see what else we got here. Any comments as we enter the waning hours of Alan. Sasai says, someone is forgetting Windows ME. Sai points out, thank God, he's right. An underrated.
You know, Si, I bet you were a Bob person, weren't you?
Did you have a Zune with your MP3s? Or no, I guess they'd be WM. Windows
Me?
Media. What are the?
WMA, Windows Media Audio.
Actually, I liked those because that allowed the first legal that I'm aware of, or that I used, services where you could pay a monthly fee and listen to whatever and download it locally, and you just had to connect your device to the internet once a month to retag all your Windows Media Audio files because there's no DRM on MP3s. I liked the DRM because it allowed me to pay $15 a month, download whatever the hell I wanted, and play it when I was DJing at shows. And I would just use that. I used Napster to go, which was not the original Napster that was illegal, but they bought the name. A different company formed, and they sold a legal subscription service using the Napster name, and then that was purchased by whoever the hell I pay now, Rhapsody, I think. I never used Spotify. I think they said I had to log in with Facebook, and I didn't trust them, so I never used Spotify, but apparently that's all the rage. Me and Taylor Swift are the only two people who don't use it.
She'll end up using it too, but
one day we'll get all our slime pods to provide all the power our robot overlords need. Buckle up, Copper Top. I like my steak rare. Sigh. We use VMware, but the concept is similar. We can power our servers, spin up more servers, deploy applications to the servers, and even migrate our running virtual machines to other hosts if they are dormant or highly active, all dynamically based on the current load and the rules we have in place. Repeat that 3 times. Everything happens on the order of minutes. The downside is we have to use a lot of hardware. The upside is it's powered on. It's being used in the most efficient way possible. I think I understand that, which is surprising to me and certainly Alan. Okay, and then Google Ads. This is an interview on Recode, and it's basically he's saying that, yeah, they're doing some sales options, but they don't intend to become a retailer like Amazon. And they're talking about some of the new ad things. I think it's basically just incremental changes in ads. And then this other story here, Delta is shutting down access to some travel sites that show competitive fares, and TripAdvisor is one of them. That's a big one. I forget all the others, and that's a big thing. I remember I went to this pizza place because they said they had New York slices, and of course you have to try a new pizza place. And after I said this really good pizza. It's called Neighborhood Italian Kitchen in Winchester, Virginia. NIK, Neighborhood Italian Kitchen, Winchester, Virginia. And he said, hey, if you like it, give me a good write-up on TripAdvisor. He's like authentic New York. And I said, isn't Yelp the thing? It's like, no, TripAdvisor. I get people from all over the country. So that's the new thing. That's the new Yelp. Yelp is so Abercrombie & Fitch. Or Aeropostale. Is that the one that died this week? 5 minutes from Alan. So Alan, I see this Delta. The Google ad thing is kind of boring. The Delta thing. What do you think, Alan? On the heels of that lawsuit where I think it was it American and Orbitz that sued this kid who was scraping their site to, and that was a different thing. This is going against sites that compare rates because they don't want you. They want to, they don't want you to be completely informed of all the ways to get the cheapest fare because that's not in their interest. And the other lawsuit, and I forget the guy's name, but I donated money to him, even though Alan and I both agree the guy doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell, I don't think. But he was scraping their site against the terms of service, allegedly, and showing you that if you wanted to go to Vegas, if you instead booked a flight to the next stop or two after Vegas and just got off in Vegas, you could save this much money, and that pissed the airline off. Alan, any thought about it? I think they can get away with it, or I don't know. What do you think? I mean, can't you just put whatever terms of service you want on your website and that's it?
Yep.
Nope or yep?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes, the airlines are fully free to screw over their consumers, which is their constitutionally given right to do so. Right, Dan?
I guess. Does that
What do you
mean?
mean, yes.
Does that mean I could take a bunch of stock photos, and in my terms of service say it's $1,000 per use for these, and just wait 5 years for everyone to steal them and use them on Facebook and Google Plus and Pinterest, and then just go after everybody with and talk about how
Yes,
over
but I
the
don't
course
see how
of
that's
3
relevant to
years,
this conversation.
huh?
Yes, you could do that, but I don't see how it's relevant to this conversation.
It demonstrates that. Is there any limit to your terms of service and the impact?
Well, but I mean, you're basically, on one hand, you're releasing the information, and I mean, what it is in this case is, as I just said, and as you've advocated for multiple times in the past, companies are free to screw their consumers over if they choose to do so.
The difference, though, Alan, to me, is this isn't an API issue, really. It's public information. Anybody can go and put in all the possible things, the ways to fly a Delta flight from DC to Vegas or whatever you're doing. And they can go to Travelocity
Not
and
public
whatever.
information.
No, I mean, it's on the web. Anybody can see it. The only thing they're doing is they're saying,
Well,
okay, we've looked at all the sites and we're going to tell you that if you do this and this and this,
Whoa,
it's cheaper.
whoa. What makes you think that if both of us went to the website at the same time, an airline would offer us the same price?
Oh, because they'd use cookies and stuff to determine that you're
They
rich
can do
and
whatever
I'm
they
on
choose.
welfare or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we've seen that Amazon does that for its customers.
Probably 10 years ago, I noticed that if you wanted to host a website with Yahoo, which at the time had a pretty good offering. It sucks compared to what you can do now. But 10 years ago is pretty good. Maybe 15 years ago. But you could say web hosting on the Yahoo search engine, because I think this was pre-Google. And it would give you the thing, and it was a $25 setup fee. But if you did a search on Yahoo for discount web hosting, you got to the exact same page, and it waived the $25 fee because your search said, I want a cheap rate. Any final thoughts, Alan? Then you got to roll.
Nope.
Thank you, Alan. Have a wonderful whatever you're doing.
Well, I'm going to be traveling to the Bay Area next week. Hopefully, I'll be providing some dispatches from there. I/O promises to be exciting, so I hope everyone will tune in. And I don't know if I'll be able to be on the show Friday night, but I will try. I've got some really, really good after I/O parties to attend, which I'm sorry are a hell of a lot more interesting than this. But we'll see what we can do.
Was that a dig? A rare dig from Alan?
That wasn't even close to a dig. That was a statement of fact.
If you want to record on your phone, just some little videos or whatever, and like stick them on Drive, and I can download them and play them in the show if you want.
Ooh, I've got this thing called Voodoo that would be really awesome.
There you go.
We'll see
it
what
would
we
be
can do.
helpful to me if you could do them in 720, not 1080, because of my machine thing. So just probably your front-facing camera is 720, and you probably want to use that one anyway.
Dude, I wear this thing called Glass.
Oh yeah. That still works?
Knocks the socks off everything else out there.
Don't you? If you go like 8 minutes, it melts your face off or something.
Well, it's more like 20 minutes, but yeah. So what? Small price to pay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Thank you,
I.O.
Alan.
next week promises to be fun. Everyone have a safe and memorable Memorial Day.
Are you going to be on Monday? Are we doing a Monday? Or are you traveling?
No,
It's
I'll be on
Memorial
Monday.
Day.
No, I might be available Monday.
We may or may not have a show Monday. Okay. All right, Alan. I'll shoot it out
Have a
with
good week,
Kevin
folks.
now. Thank you. All right. So now everyone, if you have any nasty stuff to say about Alan, go for it. And I'll read it. I'll put it up on this freaking screen.
All right, here we go. Now, no.
So Kevin, I don't know, anything else like tickle your fancy?
I think I'm along with everyone else. I'm waiting around for I/O, and I've tried looking through all the different panels that are going to be going on. But what I found was that, at least in my experience, whenever I read the panel titles, it's really just a cover because they want to make the announcements during I/O. So while the panels will cover those kinds of subjects that are listed, they're not really helpful in terms of saying what's going to happen in the panels themselves. So what I look to more than anything else is look through the entire list of panels, and I try and pick out titles that seem to deal with maybe Android as a subject, or Google Glass as a subject, or Google Cast as a subject. And depending on the number of panels that deal with that subject, I'll know what their focus is going to be for the year. For the year, I mean the conference for the year. And so I've been looking through, and I haven't really found a good pattern. So I don't think there's anything specific that they're pushing this year. They'll make announcements. There'll be new things. There'll be interesting things. But it's not like with last year. I think last year there were a lot of panels that dealt with games and how to develop Android games and things like that. At least that's how it felt to me last year. And this year, I'm not feeling the same kind of singular push in terms of a specific subject. So I think it's just going to be more of a standard, okay, these are the several things that we're doing. You know, we're a big company. These are the things that are interesting in each subject. So I think that's my general feeling for right now. I'm just waiting around for I/O, and we'll see what happens. Let's see. There were some websites that got hit by some algorithm changes.
Boy, that's in the weeds.
Yeah, it kind of is.
The shade of blue on Twitter has been tweaked.
Yeah, but it wasn't really that big of a deal.
I just made that up. I was trolling you just then.
Yeah, it's really not that big a deal. The big thing is me waiting around for I/O. I would say that's the biggest thing.
It really Monday shows is hard for a couple weeks going into that. Sometimes 3 weeks. It has been now because everyone's prepping their stuff for I/O and kind of not doing anything because they don't know what's about to be announced that's going to change, right?
Right.
So, or they're traveling to I/O as a guest or visitor. So, yeah, I hope there have been some really exciting ones and some kind of like, okay, that's kind of cool ones. And I don't know what this one's going to be. I think Alan said it was going to be somewhere in between, but it's just wild speculation.
Based off of what I'm seeing from the subjects, I agree because I'm not seeing anything blockbuster that's happening. I miss one thing I didn't see was a ton of announcements around Google Plus itself, so that's kind of disappointing.
It wasn't mentioned at all when I first checked the schedule. I actually went and did a search for Plus, PLUS and the plus sign because I read through and I couldn't see anything, and then I checked. But he said it's not filled out, and then it fills out more after the keynote because they'll announce things that are secret and then fill the schedule out with things about that. But the two big things for me were Glass and Sergey jumping out of an airplane or being in the airplane and guys jumping out, and Larry doing the Q&A. Those are the two that really blew me away.
Yeah, it's in general, IO has been a little less of a low key event, a little more of a low key event in terms of blockbuster announcements to the general public than normal Apple things were. And they kind of set the bar kind of high with the whole jumping out of a plane in Hangouts and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know really why. I really wish here. Okay, here's what I wish. I wish that they would give at I/O, even if they don't say specifically what they're going to do on Google Plus. I wish they would give a roadmap as to what they're going to take away from Google Plus in order to streamline it. Because I feel like them not saying anything at all about Google Plus means that the project is adrift. And yet I know it's not adrift because I know more and more people are using it all the time. They already have more engaged users per month than Twitter. And I know more people are coming on board all the time, not specifically because they love Google Plus, but because they're finding good functionality out of the service itself. And so for them to just start weeding away features like ripples and moving photos out and not explaining the roadmap to people, that's a little bit disconcerting to me. On a side note with the photos, I thought the photos rollout into Google Drive would be moving a little bit faster than it is now because I've been checking almost daily to see if all my photos would make it into Google Drive in that Google Photos tab that's on the left-hand side. And I'm seeing a few more photos at a time, but I am not seeing a full rollout of all my photos. And I'm not quite clear what the holdup is with that. I thought it would be a little faster. In general, I'm happy with the streamlining in general of Google Plus. I did feel that it was a little bit too fully featured, and so I'm glad that they're taking stuff like photos out and putting it in some place where I think it might get a little more use. But at the same time, I want a roadmap. I want some kind of a guideline from Google saying this is what we're trying to do, and it feels a lot more amorphous than I'm happy with. And plus, even with Vic gone, I'm still not seeing a public API being announced, and that's the strangest part to me of all. Initially I thought that he had separated because of that issue, and clearly it's not that at all because they're just going in that same direction. They're not really addressing the public API issue at all, and that's kind of surprising in general.
You talking about
Because
for Google Plus?
yeah, for Google Plus
Vic.
itself.
Yeah, Vic would always. Alan would. I don't know. I mean, Vic was a real trooper because he'd come on and Alan would troll him about that every time. That was the first question. Where is the API? And then he would give the same answer. Dan or Alan, we just wanted to get it right. We'd rather wait and get it right than And Alan would, wisps of smoke would come out of his ears. Size says, I'm a Linux guy forced by the man to use an inferior platform.
Oh, he's being forced to use Windows.
Yeah.
Well, actually, now that Alan is gone, I can specify something
Please.
to make smoke come out of his ears on Monday. No, the programs that I was talking about with MP3 Tag and Foobar 2000. Foobar 2000 specifically is being designed just for Windows, and it's a music player software, but it's really fully featured, and you can add custom tags to your music, and it'll show all those custom tags. But the only way it's really only being developed on Windows, and you would have to use some kind of compatibility software or other software in order to run it on Mac. And actually, the same is true for MP3 Tag. There is an MP3 tag for Mac OS, but it's something that you can run through Wine, which is basically software to allow Windows stuff to run on Macs, essentially. And so the main development is happening on Windows. And so if you want to get the the latest and greatest, you're gonna just run it on Windows. And so that's what I meant with those pieces of software. But there's other pieces of software too that I run on Windows that you just can't get elsewhere in any easy sort of way. He actually and going back to another thing that he was mentioning about Windows in general, having applications shut down the operating systems, that is truly a horrible situation to have. But you have to deal with the stuff you have and not the stuff you wish you would have. And
Okay,
so
here's
if you want the
addressing that.
flexibility, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, okay, so I was talking to Craig Ship about this, and I'm going to throw this comment here from George Cozy. People like to make fun of Windows. I like it. I run it every day. PC games are still the best, and industry runs on Windows stuff. I have no idea what Mac games are like. We're not talking Apple.
If you're gonna game on a computer, you're gonna get a Windows machine.
Oh, okay.
Getting a Mac is a waste of time. It just is.
So here's the thing. So Craig has not even a 2012 version, but the previous iteration of the former Mac Pro. Not the MacBook, but the actual Mac Pro, the big, heavy beast. And he's souped it up. He's put as much RAM as you can in. He's got an SSD. He's done everything you can do to it. And he's got, he edits 4K video. He can render 4K video dramatically faster than I can render 1080p video. I mean, like, mine is like 3 or 4 times longer. If I'm doing a 10-minute video clip, it might take me 30 or 40 minutes to render it. Whereas he is rendering in less than real time. So if it's a 10-minute clip, he's rendering it in, say, 5 to 8 minutes. And our computers are about the same age, about 5 years old. So
Right.
because the new one came out, I'm talking about video editing application, and probably for streaming, that sort of thing, like what I'm doing now. And when I do TV commercials, that sort of thing. But he's saying that he was looking online, you can get a Mac Pro, like even a 2012, which is superior to his, for like $300, $800 on eBay, used, because everyone's buying the new one that looks like the Death Star.
Right.
And the new one is amazing. I mean, but even like his computer, I'm sure there are many major motion pictures that have been edited on a machine like that. Right? They shoot it in video and then they put it on digital and they edit it. Because it's so much cheaper to edit digitally. And I think car commercials do that. They'll shoot on film and then they digitize it and they edit it and they get the advantage of both worlds, right? So, and when I started in TV commercials, we were doing Beta SP and there was an editing booth upstairs and you had the kid who was a miracle worker and there was the machine downstairs that was playing it and they were recording on another machine, another deck, and then they were doing all this stuff. And it's so much easier now, my God, with, Premiere Pro or Vegas or whatever, but he uses Final Cut 10. He likes it. I think it's a lot like the Windows. You were saying, in their defense, a lot of it is a learning curve, and their emphasis, probably an overemphasis on touch without being ready for prime time yet, I think was the biggest failing of 8. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Well,
or the biggest pushback from people, the biggest, like, oh my God, this sucks, from your generic user, was the overemphasis on touch when it wasn't yet ready for prime time.
Yeah, they didn't know how to integrate the two, especially on desktops.
And it's a huge change. I mean, I don't know if we would have gotten it right the first time. And Facebook has made stumbles, and so has Google Plus, obviously. Twitter's pissed people. Everyone's pissed people off when they're trying to do a major change.
Oh yeah. I mean, that happens all the time. I mean, there was definitely problems with Windows 8, but I think people who are into computers underestimate inertia sometimes. People just aren't going to move. They're just not going to go. They're going to say, oh, I don't like this. I'm going to move to a Mac.
Jerry, I've said this anecdote before. Jerry Wang, I saw him interviewed years ago when the Pentium was all the rage, and he had a 386 on his desk. The CEO of Yahoo. And they said, Mike, you could afford whatever, you're a billionaire or whatever he was. And he said, upgrading's a pain. It works. For his like email and shit, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, but what do you think about that? Is that a crazy idea? I've got like a Core 2 quad
So wait, let me understand your question. Are you saying you want to switch from Windows over to Mac stuff?
No, I'm saying well,
Because
some of my stuff like my InDesign is Windows, and I have a ton of stuff from Digital Juice, and I'm really good and fast at Vegas, so I'm not ready to abandon Windows. But I mean, I have like 4 computers here in front of me, but uh, the for editing, I wouldn't mind having a Mac. I've never had a Mac computer. I used one once or twice when I was in. I'm talking in the late '80s, when it was like a white plastic thing. I think in the late '80s, when I was in high school, a kid had one. It was an Apple II or Apple IIG. We're talking like, I don't know if there were cassettes yet. I mean, but it was some sort of thing, and it had a little mouse with one button, and it was cool. You turn it on, you waited. By lunch it was booted, that kind of thing, right? But I have no experience. But Craig, his video editing is super super fast, and I have Samsung Galaxy phone, Motorola, and iPhones, and I have Android and iPad, right? So I know both, and they both have strengths and weaknesses. I love my favorite thing that you can't do on iOS that you can do on Android is the Stories feature in the Google app, where it basically is like a little flipboard, but it's built in the Google app, and it's just it Scroogles you, right? It looks at all your Gmail and your Chrome browsing history, and it comes up with all sorts of stories specifically tailored for you. It's the best aggregator that's ever been created, as far as I'm concerned. And it's not just news. It could be like a website if you're interested in buying a motorhome, or you're thinking about, I want to get a hot dog cart, or how do I make the best chili? It could be anything under the sun, not just news. And it's wonderful. And they don't have that on the iOS Google app. So I see both. I wouldn't mind having an Apple workstation so I can compare Final Cut with the Adobe Suite and with Sony Vegas. I haven't messed with Avid. But what do you think? I mean, I guess you don't know.
I mean,
What do you think about buying a previous generation 2012 version, the last of the big heavy beast Mac Pros, right? Again, for people just joining us, not the MacBook, but the actual big heavy desktop Mac Pro as a video workstation, and maybe for streaming here.
I mean,
because you can get it for like $500.
I mean,
because they're old generation.
Apple really loves artists, and they make beautiful products, and they make products that work really well, and they work really, really specifically for that purpose. They work really, really well. And if you're looking for a tool, I mean, it's just a tool. I mean, I love Windows and all, but there's no reason to stick to it over any other system. So I mean, I think that's a wonderful idea. I mean, if Craig is seeing results like that, that's a reason to just get a Mac tomorrow. I mean,
it's so
in
cheap,
terms of
you can just
time
like get it.
savings.
Yeah. So I gotta tell you a quick Memorial Day tip. I gotta ask the kid, how was the chili, and how were the hot dogs?
They were really good.
Was the chili kick butt? Will I pay for that tomorrow?
Probably.
Probably, he says. But yeah, my first restaurant was a hot dog place, and we made donuts and hot dogs. And I used to go through on a Saturday. We sold so many chili dogs, and of course I make it. I wasn't opening cans of chili, and I would go through sometimes like 5 gallons of chili, just putting like an ounce on top of a hot dog. Right? It's 128 ounces in a gallon. So like we'd go through like 2 or 3 batches, 3-gallon batches of chili. The secret is, don't dump all the hamburger grease if you're making a condiment chili. If you're making a bowl of chili to eat, you want to get rid of the hamburger grease, right? Down to where you're, taking a paper towel to get the last bit. But if you're making a condiment chili, it should be a little greasy. Just like you wouldn't eat a bowl of mayonnaise, right? But mayonnaise is great on a sandwich. So as a condiment, you want a little greasier. And don't put the beans in if it's a hot dog chili. But if you're making it for a bowl, put the beans in, like light red kidney beans. What I'd use. And there's some other secrets I'm not going to tell you, Kevin, because I love you to death, but I won't tell you. At least I won't tell you publicly. But yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
Memorial
Well,
Day,
you know,
chili.
now that Alan's gone, we can completely take the show off the rails.
Let's talk
ask
about
you-
ISIS. Go ahead.
Let's work our way up to ISIS. Are you excited about the new Star Wars movies that are going to be coming out?
Oh my God, yeah. And I loved the memes they did when they showed the saber, the new one, and then the memes went out with all these different crazy things.
I was one of the people who was mad.
And the Jurassic Park movie. You know, I mean, I haven't been to a movie. The last time I was in a movie theater was Michael, because I'm the biggest Michael Jackson fan. I saw him live once, and it was amazing. It was a concert for America, or the concert for DC. It's after 9/11, and they had the concert for New York City the night before, and then a lot of those artists flew to DC. It was like the next, I think it was the next night, or the night, or 2 nights later, but it was real close after. And everybody was there. They had the teen bands, the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC. They had Rod Stewart. They had America was there. They had Mariah Carey, Google Dolls, Train, James Brown. I saw James Brown live.
Oh.
I saw him, baby. And he was like, "Ooh, I feel good." And he had like 75 hot women on stage with him, you know, doing their thing. And he's like 90 and he can still kick your ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably high. God knows how many drugs. And then it
Feels
was
good.
at the end. It was Train, and they did that song.
Drops of Jupiter.
Drops of Jupiter, and then Michael just came out, and he was dressed in the outfit at the time. He was big, the white Oxford shirt and the black pants, and he did this shit, and it was like, it's being even. I say being in the same room as Michael with 80,000 of my closest friends, right? But it's not the same. The thrill, and I brought some people from my restaurant, my staff, and one of the kids was like, "Oh man, no, Google Dolls is going to be the headliner, not Michael. He's old school." And I was like,
Oh, wow.
I said no. Michael Jackson will be the headliner. And so they had, at the end it was Google Dolls, Train, Mariah Carey. I think Train was on right before, and then he came out, and it's just like, it's the only time I've ever seen. I don't know if you ever had the pleasure of seeing him live, but he was the greatest living song and dance guy in my lifetime. In the 20th century, I would say the top 3. There's the inner circle. I would say in the top 3 unparalleled would be Elvis Presley, the Beatles, and Michael Jackson, in that order. And then there's an outer circle that's still big, like Rolling Stones, Elton John, Madonna, you name it, right? But they will never penetrate into that inner circle. And but the Elvis Presley, the Beatles, and Michael Jackson were just unbelievable. I never got to see any of the Beatles. I never got to see Elvis. I got to see Michael Jackson. And if you ever, it's just mind-bogglingly talented people that were trendsetters and innovators. And Elvis, of course, really, I don't know I guess it was like there was, all the good music was on the black radio stations, but it was still segregated, and so they got a white guy to sing the good black songs. And my dad said before Bill Haley came out with Rock Around the Clock, all the stuff was, my dad's 76, right? So he's born in 38. He just turned 77, or he just turned 76. But he was born in 38, and he said that all the songs up till then were like, Moon River, and they were dancing like 5 feet apart, and stuff. And then all of a sudden, Rock Around the Clock came out and stuff. But really, 10 years before that, in 47, country was really the first rock and roll stuff before rock and roll. Because you look at like a 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock rock. Well, that is a complete ripoff, in my humble opinion. Not to cast dispersions on the grave of Bill Haley, who I assume is dead, but Hank Sr. Bill Haley listed as an inspiration of his, had "Move It On Over," right? I came in last night about 10:30. That baby of mine wouldn't let me in, so move it on over. Scratch it on over. Move over, short dog, 'cause the big dog's moving in. And I just massacred those lyrics. That's basically 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock rock, right? And so the old country stuff was basically like 10 years before in the 40s. And then I don't think Elvis would be rock and roll today. I think it'd be country. You know what I mean? He's like old country now. He wouldn't be like the Stones or rock and roll.
Rock changed so much. To call him, I mean to see Rock in 2015, he would be country now. Yeah, because it's in such a different place.
The only thing I've seen like that, as far as like an old guy still getting the young girls crazy, with Elvis, I saw Robert Duvall at an event here in Front Royal. He's like, fairly old, right? He was like in The Godfather. And he's been in every big movie. He's like Travolta, Travolta.
He's like he's in his mid-80s at this point.
Yeah, he still does like 5 movies at a time. He's in like a dozen movies a year still. I mean, it's like the guy just, he's awesome. And he's super nice. My sister met him at a bookstore in Manassas, and I got to meet him here. And he did a picture with my staff. I've never seen women like 65-year-old women like just all but throwing their bras at him. I mean, they went crazy at this guy. I guess he's sexy as hell or whatever he's got. 80 years old, and women were just going ape over him. Crazy. I never seen anything like it. Screaming like it was One Direction or Bieber, in his prime. It was funny.
Yeah.
Good for
Tom
him.
Jones can do that too still.
And I guess Wayne Newton, right? Don't they go crazy?
Less so. Tom Jones, he can still do that kind of stuff. He's up there with that.
And I'm totally off the rails. I have no idea what.
That's okay.
I can only have ADD moments like this when Alan's gone. He would long ago would have probably ejected me from my own hangout.
Well, let's take us back to what I was talking to originally. The Star Wars movies.
Oh yeah.
I was so mad. I was one of those guys who was in front of the keyboard saying they shouldn't have made that. They shouldn't have made that saber that. They could have used this design. They could have used a post here, and they could have had a part over here, and then a part over here, and then they could have gotten that true crossguard action, and they wouldn't have to have that, because if you have that spot in the center where there's no actual lightsaber part, you're gonna try and use it as a crossguard, and it's gonna break that part of the saber. And so
how can you break it? It's light.
Nothing can break the saber, but in between, if you have that cross, you have that line, then you have this, and then you have this on the other side. There's this little piece. There's a little piece in between that's just the handle. And
just to clarify, you're basically doing a doctoral thesis on like half a second of an early trailer, correct? There's like half a second of video of this.
Oh yes, keyboard running. Just I don't like this. I want to change this. Here's some alternate design.
You think you can have an impact? You think that what's his name, Abrams is? Well, of course, he's known to be a fan of the show because he's got so much free time as he shits these movies out every. But no, I mean it's been. When was the first one? Was it 76 or something?
78, I thought. It might be 76. You know what? I think Empire Strikes Back might have been 78.
So it's like 40 years, and there's only been 6.
Yeah, 4 was what again? 4. It was 1977.
Okay.
Yeah, that was 1977.
So 40 years.
Yeah. Side note about that one. My favorite Star Wars. I know everyone who's older and into Star Wars. They know it's all about the It's all about the 4, 5, 6, and not the prequels. The prequels are all garbage. Then you get the younger people who are saying, yeah, but those effects are kind of old, and so I like 2 or something like that. And then you get the really young kids who are saying, I still think Jar Jar is funny, and they're wrong. But but for me, honestly, my favorite Star Wars movie at this point is Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. It has all the best lightsaber battles. It has Palpatine versus Yoda. It has Palpatine versus Mace Windu. It has Obi-Wan versus Anakin, and you get real fighting. If you go back to the first Star Wars film and you look at those lightsaber battles, they are weak. They are so weak. There's no real fighting that's really truly exciting going on, and they have the best special effects. And plus, Ewoks can go die in a fire. I don't care what anybody says. I didn't even like them as a kid. So I am super excited to
Those are the little guys that stole C-3PO and R2 in the big brown ship. They're like in the hoods.
Yeah. Well, there's Ewoks were. No, the ones in the hoods. Those were, I think, Jawas. Ewoks were the one in the 6th movie, on the planet with the trees.
When you say 6, you mean episode 6, or you mean the
Episode
6th
6.
movie, which was
Yeah.
episode 3?
No,
Oh,
no.
the
I mean, I'm
Ewoks were
talking
like
about
this
Episode 6.
fast speeding.
Right. You're on the vehicles going through the trees. I'm talking about Episode 6.
And you're not excited
Return
about
to
Jurassic Park, the new one?
No.
Because
and
I'm
it's
totally
weird.
going to an IMAX for that, and
It's-
probably the Star Wars.
When is that even coming out? Is that coming out soon?
I don't know if it's this year or next year, but I'm seeing teaser trailers for it. But something
I've seen
isn't it Star Wars coming soon? Something's coming soon,
Star Wars is coming in December.
and they're doing a new Terminator movie with Arnold. Yes, aren't they?
Okay. Well,
Those Hollywood makeup
That-
guys are good. They can make them look good. They can make them
that's
buff.
just. There hasn't been a real great.
Isn't that weird?
Terminator
Like he was
animation.
governor, and like now he's gonna be back. Come with me if you want to live, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
It's-
killing
it's-
people. I think it's hilarious. He's like in the most anti-gun right state, and he's like gonna be walking around with some like 2-ton machine gun, just killing things. Only in
Yeah.
America.
Yeah. It's just gonna be a waste of time. That's a waste of time. This new
'Cause it's
the
not
new
in
Jurassic
space?
Park, it's gonna be.
You
I'm
don't
sure
like
it's gonna be good.
Terminators? You probably didn't like Predator.
No, I love Terminator. I actually love the first one. The first one was really good, even though the special effects are really horrible these days. They don't date well. It's a really great movie, really great script. I'll get drawn in by scripts. So the first Terminator movie, amazing, absolutely phenomenal. T2 beat it out in every respect. It's an even better movie. It's one of the best action movies of all time, even today. And then it just kind of fell off because
That was with
scripts
the
were
little
not as
kid
good.
as John Connor.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was riding around, and I now know why you cry. That moment from
That was a
Arnie,
good story.
and
yeah.
dropping him in the molten lava. Just jumping from the motorcycle into the helicopter. I mean, just scene after scene is absolutely phenomenal.
Even
to
today,
me-
like decades later, it's badass. It's great.
Oh yeah, it's so killer. But it's because the script was so good, and then after that, the scripts kind of fell off. And you
Are you
can't
an
just
Aaron
have
Sorkin
action.
fan?
Oh, which one?
Aaron Sorkin, are you a fan?
Um,
The West Wing, Sports Night, The Newsroom on HBO, Officer and a Gentleman, the play that became a movie. You can't handle the truth.
I keep hearing he's good.
Oh
and
my
I just
God!
never-
If you like dialogue, he's the best.
I
He's the best
get it,
living
I get
dialogue
it, but
writer.
There's too much TV. There's too much
I'm gonna
TV.
make you watch.
Uh,
Didn't you see that epic thing? Did you see the epic first episode of The Newsroom?
I haven't seen The Wire either. I haven't
Didn't
seen
you
that
see
either.
the Newsroom episode with the guy from Dumb and Dumber?
Jeff Daniels?
Yeah, and some co-ed says, "I'm stepping back from the microphone because I'm getting an echo from you." I'm not sure why, but and it was sudden. It wasn't all night. It was just like in the last 5 minutes. So did you up your volume or something maybe?
I didn't change anything. I can switch to headphones if you want.
No, just if you lower your speaker volume just a little bit.
Okay, I will.
So Jeff Daniels, someone holds up a sign, or she asks his character, who's the anchor, why is America the greatest country in the world? And everyone else is like, oh, it's because of our diversity and we're a melting pot, right? And then he says, well, we're not. We're like 17th and, this. We're 15th and, literacy or infant mortality rate, and he goes through. And then he basically like ties it all up, says, well, we can be. We can. And then he talks about all the great stuff, right? And it's just this epic thing. And of course, he gets in big trouble because he like made this girl look like, feel like an idiot. And it was a meltdown of sorts. But that's I don't know if you ever saw that, but that was the season premiere of the HBO The Newsroom thing, and it's some of the best writing. And any of the West Wing episodes, the first 4 years he wrote, almost all the episodes. The Sports Night, what was the show? Was it 30 Rock or not 30 Rock?
No.
Something on the Sunset Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
I know what show you're talking about.
But he's the amazing writer. It's real smart, rapid dialogue. And
Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
Yeah, that's another great one. But I've watched The West Wing like 7 times, all 7 seasons. I think I'm on like the 7th or 8th time. And Sarik, I got him onto it. I always hook people with the season finale from episode. It's free on either Netflix or Prime. I think on Netflix. It was on both. And so the finale of season 1 followed by the beginning of season 2. Once if you watch those 2, you are an addict. You are addicted to the show, and you will watch. And Sarik just said he's thinking about starting it over for the 4th time. It's just, in fact, what I'm going to do, if you go to Sarik Menon on Plus, I want you to do me this favor.
Okay.
Find Sarik on Plus. Don't hit play because we'll get audio and I'll get a ping. I'll get in trouble with the YouTube people. And he's got a scene from The West Wing. He talks about it. I got it during the show. But I want you to watch that video after the show. And I want you to hold that. In fact, after we go off air, I want you to watch it. You owe me this because I've made you a star. You owe your master's degree to me. That's a slight exaggeration. How long did it take you? I know they used to say Northern Virginia Community College, the best 10 years of your life. How long did it take you for your master's? Did you do it in 6?
No, but it was close.
Good for you.
Almost. It was about 5. It took me about 5 all told.
Cool.
It took a really long time, and this last semester was tough and everything, but it was worth it.
How was your Google Plus week, Kevin Bryan?
My
From
Google
Atlanta,
Plus week-
Georgia.
Yes. My Google Plus week was good. It was a lot busier than I thought it was going to be because I thought after class is finished, I'd have a little bit more of a break. And this week has been very busy, but it's also been good. It's turned out real well. I know I'm going to get a break next week. So it's going to be good in that way. In terms of technology, I'm still playing around with my phone in terms of going back to doing some more digital tagging. It's going back to that. It is a hobby of mine to make some of the music that I actually have look and sound as good as I can possibly make it. I have a bunch of FLAC files of some classical music, and I try and digitally tag it so that I get all the information of the composer and the different artists that are on those tracks, and even images of the actual artists themselves and integrate that into the tracks as well. Just as a hobby. I use I actually made a collection. So let me plug that. I have a digital music tagging collection that I've made, so that if people want to hear more about digital tagging and making their music look and sound good, they can look at some of the posts that I put in there. And if you don't like it, you can completely tune it out, which is another thing I love about collections. I can geek out as much as possible on that subject. And then if people don't like it, they don't have to hear about it. But if you're interested, you can check that out. In general, it's been a good week. I like I said before, I am really interested in seeing what's going to happen with these new Star Wars movies. I'm happy that Disney has control of it, so now we'll be seeing a movie every year, the way we should have been, 15 years ago. We'll be seeing more of Boba Fett. We'll be seeing more of a lot of the other characters. Hopefully some people like Kyle from some of the video games will make it into some of the movies as well, hopefully. Interested in seeing a lot of that stuff, and also interested in seeing some other TV shows that Dan is going to be introducing me to.
Oh, you're gonna be an addict. You're gonna hate me. Yeah.
Well, okay. Last thing I'll say before I mean, I understand those shows are good. We're hitting a real golden age of TV, where there's so much good stuff that you can't really keep up and watch everything. It used
Are you
to be,
joking?
No.
I think there's garbage. I was looking the other night. I was just curious.
What?
There's garbage.
Really? There's Game of Thrones out there. There's Better Call Saul. There's
Game of Thrones is
there's
pay service. Keep going.
Okay.
I'm talking broadcast television, the network.
Okay, if you're talking, okay, the Wire was on. Well, I
the
still haven't
Wire's
seen
like ended years ago, right? That was HBO.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it. I haven't had time.
You need to get HBO. You need to get. I think it works in Windows. It does not work on Android, but the HBO Now app. And it's not that I forget what I pay. I don't know if it's 14 or whatever it is a month, but you can watch Game of Thrones, The Newsroom, all kinds of stuff. You get the whole HBO thing.
Okay, broadcast.
I mean, Dancing with the Stars, shit like that. I'd rather be in a Japanese prisoner of war camp than watch that shit.
Oh no! So you definitely don't want to hear about me being a fan of American Idol and The Voice.
I mean, once Paula Abdul and what's his name, the mean guy who was almost always right.
Simon Cowell.
He's definitely not a Secretary of State, but he was usually correct. I mean, that made the show. They're canceling the show. It sucks so bad. It was the #1 show on television, and then they left, and it sucks, and they're going to cancel it. Also, it's been copied so many times.
Well, there's like 15 different there's 15 different singing shows now, so
yeah,
and plus, who buys music? You're gonna stream it. I mean, you'll buy a streaming service, and you'll not buy the album.
I think Taylor's waiting for her album to be like the last one sold. Like
before she turns out the lights.
I'm gonna Alan, you, me, and Alan and Pam are gonna be like, and Kadeas could be like the last Google Plus users before we shut the lights off and leave. My Google Plus week was fun, because I didn't have to do a paper this week, so I was really excited. I'll have to do it next week. Get ready for, big weekend, right? Memorial Day weekend, and obviously, our thoughts go out to all the people, the brave folks, men and women who have given their lives for this country. And if you don't know the story about the history of Arlington National Cemetery, go to the Wikipedia page or Google the history of Arlington National Cemetery. It's a wonderful story. It's fast. You'll be shocked at whose land it was before they took it for that. But anyway, I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks for the comments and stuff, and especially the funny ones, and anything making fun of Alan. We always like those comments. Those are the best. Anyway, thank you all for watching. We have 2 programs. One is called Our Android Week. That is Monday nights. May or may not be this Monday because of Memorial Day, but Alan's iffy, which means he'll probably do it. So we may do it. But Monday at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, 6 Pacific on Google Plus and YouTube. And that's our Android Week, where we discuss, wait for it, Android. And then this program is Google Plus Week, which airs officially at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Friday night, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, 8:30, 5:30, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Pacific on Google Plus and YouTube Live. This is Google Plus Week. This is our tech show where we discuss all things. We never got to ISIS tonight, but that's okay. Our viewers thank us for that.
You get to it on Monday, where I'm sure Alan will talk about it for several hours.
Oh, he would totally get up and walk out. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Thanks for the comments. We appreciate it. Until next time, have an awesome Google Plus week. Next week from I.O.